Hey guys, Silver Skull Gamer here. This video is going to be the assembly of Leviathan Crusader. There I'm just showing you that I'm starting with the sprue A as an alpha. This video is going to be fairly long because this is a complicated model. It just takes some time. It's not particularly hard, it just takes a bit of time to get everything right and figuring out what order to do things so that you can still pose it later or paint it. A lot of people like to paint things in stages or paint all the parts and then assemble. So I'm basically going to assemble what I can and then paint it. So I'm going through the instructions, finding all the parts that are labeled. Every single piece has a tab with a letter number code. Later on there's actually an error or two, but everything, it works out. Everything's labeled. The pictures are pretty good, and just take some time finding them all, clipping the right ones, and starting to put them together. So I'm starting with the leg assembly, which is the first stage. Trying to clip all the pieces, make sure I get the right ones. The legs probably have obviously the most moving parts in them. So, and I really like the way the pieces are actually mounted on the sprue, because I don't know how you say it, but the sprue usually comes in contact with the piece on a non-visible side. So I don't know how to explain it. So normally when you clip the sprue off, as long as you don't really butcher it, you wouldn't even really have to clean it up because you just clip the sprue off where you're not going to see it anyways. So there's a lot of thought put into how these pieces are laid out. Don't mind my wife's screwdriver there. I didn't feel like going into my shed to get one of mine, so I just grabbed one out of the closet. But I'm using the screws, which is pretty awesome. So you can adjust the tension. And I actually realized I had to take it apart because I realized that I was doing it wrong. I actually left a piece out. There's a piece for the hydraulics that has to be loosely clamped between two pieces, and I left that out, so I had to take it apart, put it back together with the piece on there. And I'm just testing the ankle movement. That's basically the very bottom of the foot, the ankle, and just checking the tension. And then we're moving on to the shin, I guess you could say. I tried to speed this video. Obviously the video itself is sped up, but I didn't want to do it too fast because you wouldn't even know what I was doing. So once again, it's a complicated model, so I'm trying to show as much as I can. So hopefully it'll help people out so they can kind of build along, or just see how I did it, or maybe watch this video and decide if you actually want to get one of these, because it's an impressive model, but it takes some time and some modeling ability. So just putting the other ankle together, like I said, checking the tension. So we've got my first two pieces there. Alright, here we go. That's the hip joint, big old hunk of plastic. Or not, I guess that wouldn't be the hip joint, that would be the top of the femur. With the socket for the ball joint. And now I'm clipping out I guess what you'd say, the thigh and the shin pieces for the leg, the rest of the leg. So up to this point, I think there's really no errors in the instructions, but we will eventually find some mistakes. there's very little cleanup to do on the entire Leviathan. I mean, I said in my unboxing video that the mold lines are very minor. There was no flash. I never found a single shred of flash on any part. Just minor mold line stuff. And I'm a little obsessive about mold lines, and I think a lot of times I probably spend a lot of time cleaning pieces that you may not even see. So like right there, I'm shaving a bit of where the sprue made contact, and I don't think it would have made a difference. I guess that's just a what do you call it? Obsessive compulsive thing for me is mold lines. So I'm dry fitting. There you see the shin attached to the ankle. That's the important thing about this model. Dry fit every single stage before you start putting glue, or before you even start screwing the screws in. You know, I'm using a little glue here. Probably would be fine with just the screws, but I just wanted a little glue basically so I could move it without the screws in it. You know, and just that extra assurance that there's not going to be any gaps on the seams. And of course, when you are gluing something, a moving piece, as it's drying, make sure you're still moving the piece. Make sure it doesn't stop moving while the glue starts setting in. And here we're gluing in a part is that A Alpha 6. It's just kind of like a little gear ring, which is pretty neat. There's a lot of detail and a lot of thought into this model to make it look like this thing could actually function. And I think I'll go kind of slow in the beginning because I wasn't sure if all the leg pieces were interchangeable. So I'm really trying to make sure that I get it right, and these thigh pieces I'm trying to make sure I get right because I wasn't sure, like I said, that you know, there's a sliding piece right there that I just picked up, and it just gets clamped in loosely between the two halves. Using the toothpick to kind of spread the glue around into a thinner layer so it doesn't squish out of the sides. And there's that sliding piece. You got to hold it in with your thumb and then quickly clamp it together and make sure it still moves. You know, make sure everything moves. So we've got what, 3 joints in our leg so far. And then yeah, so I had to pull it apart because once again I forgot to put the top of the leg on. So, which also has to move. So you're trying to glue 2 halves together and make sure that 2 separate pieces are still movable. So the legs get a bit complicated. Alright, so I've already gone and done the other half of the leg to the same stage. Now there's a lot of there's end caps provided for pretty much anywhere there's a screw. You have a cap piece to hide that. I waited until the very last possible moment to put both end caps on. If there was 2, you know, one on each side, I'd leave the one that covers the screw head off so that I could continue to make adjustments throughout the process until I got the tension right and before I glued any end cap pieces on. I mean, I just can't stop gushing over this model. I mean, it's the most well thought out thing I've ever built. Just the posability, customization, really. Well, there's not much customization yet because we only have 2 arm options, but that's coming too. And then the mortises will be coming out. The dare I say, maybe the chaosy version, the evil version, which I wish I would have ordered. But anyway, so once again, now I'm starting to, as you can see, I'm starting to get some of the piston pieces off. And this is where I really want to make sure I'm doing the right thing and getting the right pieces, because there's a lot of pistons. You've got the arm pistons, the waist, the torso pistons, and what, 2 or 3 sets of leg pistons. So there I'm trying to figure out, okay, how does this go? How do these made up? I'm trying to dry fit everything. Because at first I had the legs actually bent the wrong way, and I was trying to get, I was like, wait a minute, that's not going to reach anything. So here I'm trying to like get all the bends correctly. And it's like the ankle is like a reverse jointed ankle, I guess you could say. So, which I had completely wrong, so I had to start bending all the pieces every which way to figure out how it was going to work together. I can only imagine that one day, you know, with I don't know if anybody's ever into Lego or Technic, and they have some awesome Technic models with functioning air pistons and all kinds of stuff. I can't think that maybe one day we'll actually have, you know, a model like this where it actually can move on its own because it has many hydraulics that function. Anyways, so there you're seeing how the pistons work, so that as you pose it, the pistons flow and expand and contract. You can overextend them though, so that's something to watch out for. I know I've heard some people on the forums say, well, once they find the right pose, they're just going to glue all the joints. I don't know if I'm going to do that. We'll see what happens. I think I've got the tension set currently that I'm hoping I'll be able to move it once it's painted, you know, for different poses. So we'll see how that works out. Once again, you can see there's a lot of small pieces. I'm trying to make sure they're right. If there's one criticism in assembling these legs, some of the mounting posts, like these little pieces I'm dealing with right now, the like Alpha 2, the mounting post that's supposed to slide through and go into the other piece, I guess, and snap in, are a little short. I wish they would be longer. I didn't feel like the 2 halves were really gonna stick together securely because there's just so little contact area on the mounting post. So there you can see that's kind of dry fit the whole joint assembly. Alright, so moving on, now I'm showing you we're kind of starting to put the foot together, and some of the there's armor pieces that kind of cover a lot of the seams, which is a great idea. There's so much thought put into this model. I can't say that enough. You know, the fact that he kind of included little armor pieces that will cover most of the seams, you know, so that you don't even have to worry about filling in seams because you glue another piece over that. You know, a little piece of armor plating or whatever. So I'm trying to the foot. I start trying to dry fit. Get the front to the back correct, and see if because the foot's actually armored, and my plan to paint this was to do the entire mechanical workings and the undercarriage, quote unquote, in a different color than the armor. So I'm not sure how much of the foot I actually wanted to assemble because and then have to paint it with this, the same base coat as the rest of the leg. But here I'm gluing on the foot pad. So, but everything so far, all the pieces have little tabs and stuff, so really you can only put it on one way. You can't really mess it up. And then here I'm putting on, see how this piece goes right over the front of that leg joint? So basically it covers the seams in the front. And with the pistons on the back, you're not really even going to be able to see the back of the leg piece. So this is where I'm gluing on those small pieces that basically cover up all the seams, so you don't even have to worry about filling those in. I have to say just the articulation in this model is ridiculous because the foot has basically heel and toe, and both heel and toe can flex to a limited degree. So I haven't even begun to explore the real posing potential of this model. So I hope you guys stay tuned. There's going to be many more parts to this, probably as long as my Fellblade conversion series, just because there's a lot to this model, a lot more to put together. So I hope you guys stay tuned and continue to watch. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.